Hi, everyone, and welcome back to 'Cause I Said So, your favorite mother-daughter duo, except my mom will be here for the episode, but she's not here for the intro because she is, drumroll please, getting her hair done. Don't you wish it was something more exciting, like making a video or, solving world hunger? But no, she's getting those roots dyed. So it's just me for right now, but my mom will be back, and we're going to interview Kate, who works here at Barstool. She is a former Marine. She's the host of Zero Blog 30. She's a comedian. She's absolutely hilarious. She's our coworker, and she's one of the only other moms in the office. So Kate, she provides a lot of value too. She gives new mom tips. Her son Cash is 14 months old. So we have a great conversation with Kate coming up, and that's about it. So we'll get right into the episode. Here we go. Kate, welcome to the show. Hello, Kate.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
It's about time we have you're the first mother of Barstool Sports.
I'll take that title.
Yeah,
I'll take that. The coolest is sitting next to me. The first is right here. Yeah.
You're the coolest and funniest in our eyes.
You are, yes.
Stop it, but go on.
Stop it, but keep going.
Yeah.
So before we get into you and your life, we always start off with a boomer move, where Kim confesses her boomer moves of the week, if she can remember them. And sometimes she can't, so we write them down. And I think not that you're a boomer, but you might have a mom move or a boomer move.
I'm pretty much living like one these days. Mine is, I bought them as a joke a few years ago, but these CVS Cocoons brand sunglasses, you know the kind that you see the old people wear that has like full coverage on the side. There's like tiny sunglasses on the sides and the tops and whatever. I bought them as a joke, but now in the mornings my son wakes up so early, and I don't know if I have sensitive eyes or what, but I'm out there on the patio with him wearing my Cocoons brand sunglasses with the full coverage, and I look like an absolute Pat's like, you're not wearing those out, are you? And now I'm at the park wearing them. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I've hit this age where whatever. But yeah, they're ridiculous looking.
Okay, you have to send us a photo so we can insert it on YouTube.
I certainly will.
Okay, thank you.
That's really
so
cute.
You're putting this is the classic practical, is that what that is? You just find them practical and they actually protect your eyes?
They actually protect my eyes, and it's to the point now where I think about a year and a half ago, if I had to pinpoint it, I stopped caring what was cool and more like what's comfortable for me.
And what works.
And these Cocoons are fantastic. No free ads. I can't recommend them enough. There's 2 a.m. It's the ads for them on TV where somebody's like, I can't drive. It's like, try these Cocoons. Yeah.
And you're like, I'll try them.
I'm going to try them now.
So I'll send you a
blue
pair.
eyes. You have sensitive eyes.
That's right.
It is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you should you guys could both get a pair.
Bright studio lights. I wish I had them on right now.
Your eyes hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, what's yours?
Mine is I can't seem to stay in the same thread on email. I don't know why. It's like when the poor girl upstairs at Barstool was like, okay, I think we've got multiple threads going, so can you just respond here? And I'm like, oh my God, I think it's on my phone, then on my computer, and when you're on your phone, it's really hard to find which was the last email. So
she starts
in my
new
defense.
emails.
Yeah. Well, I saw yesterday you were trying to type an email and you couldn't, and it turns out you were trying a sent email.
Yeah, typing on the email.
It happens to the best of us.
It does.
And you told me no, I doubt that's ever happened to Kate. Has that doesn't
Totally.
Not yet. Not yet. It has not yet happened to Kate.
I'm like, no one has been typing on. She had the email up and she was like, my computer won't let me type. And I said, turn it around. I was like, it's an email and you sent it. You can't type on it. But Pilar, who does the merch, she was like, we have so many email chains going on. What are you talking about?
No, she's like, answer here with the address.
Please just respond here. I'm so confused. And then you said that you're excited to get your brain scanned because she thinks she has lasting COVID effects, and that's the problem.
I do. Ever since COVID, I have really had I'm really tech savvy, or I thought I was.
Yeah.
I always taught her how to do stuff because she could never do it. And ever since then, it's been everything is just all over the place. I can't focus on it or something.
Oh, I believe it. I've heard so much about it. I had it really bad, and I think I still have some things that are lasting from it that I'm I still trouble breathing, stuff like that.
Oh, really?
That I can't. But a brain scan, that's interesting.
Yeah, it'll be kind of fun.
Are they going to show anything else?
Oh shit, what's wrong with her?
Yeah. Some of the wires aren't touching.
I don't know. I've never had a brain scan. I think it'll be kind of fun.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
What if they find you're just super advanced? She's so advanced. Her synapses
What if they just find this big blob
off.
that's I don't know how you functioned all these years. It could be either way. I think it's that I'm so smart. It's hard for me to drill down on silly things like email.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, she's so smart. She thinks email's stupid. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Ask Kate if she knows about the throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, do you know that saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater?
I think I do. Way back in the day, when they didn't have plumbing, you would use buckets or whatever to fill up the tub. And then the whole family, they would have like a family of like 10 kids, would use that same bathwater. And so it was like oldest to youngest, and the baby was the last one to get bathed. And the water was so dirty by that point that they'd be like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
But what does it mean like when you're in the world today, someone says,
Oh,
don't
sorry.
throw the baby.
She's like, this is
I'm
exactly
so
what
impressed
it means.
with that. I'm
I
impressed.
took
you know
a
that.
tour in Old City, Philadelphia in like 5th grade, and they told us that. And that's what I just regurgitated to you. I'm so
Oh, that's
sorry.
so funny.
So what? Wait, so
So like, what's it mean today? Like if someone goes, oh, well, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
just because everything's a mess, don't throw out your whole project, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh,
kinda like
something
that. That's
like that.
good. That's good. Yeah.
Well said.
What
don't
did you
know.
think it meant?
I couldn't even, I didn't know what it meant. And then when you told me what it literally meant, I had
Yeah.
no idea what it could figuratively mean at all.
Yeah.
They've been saying it a lot on CNBC for some reason, talking
Okay.
about different companies changing how they're doing things and their stocks going up and down. They're like, I think they threw the baby out with the bathwater. They've said it like for the past week 5 times. I'm not kidding.
I haven't heard that phrase since that 5th grade field trip. I think I haven't heard it in quite some time.
Do you know what rode hard and put up wet means?
No, but
You could
in
guess.
my 20s, I feel like I knew. No, that's rode hard and put up a horse. You're riding a horse,
Yes.
and so
That's
then the horse is sweaty.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
You don't cool it down or you know.
Right,
put
you
the-
just put it back
yeah,
in the
in the
okay,
stall and
in
let
the
it just
stall.
sits there. Mhm.
Yeah.
It sounds sexual.
Well, no, we
It
learned from
does.
Pat and Joey, but actually has a whole nother meaning
Oh,
that is
God, I'm
sexual.
sure.
And put up wet. Yeah. That's what I was. Okay, you referenced a wild 20s.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, we
Little
want to
bit.
know. We want to know about that, and then being a Marine, if they are related. We
Yeah.
want your backstory.
Okay, so
Before we get into the interview with Kate, let's pause for a quick Mamitas ad because we love Mamitas and nothing says summer like hard seltzer and tequila, and the only one my mom and I drink is Mamitas. It's made with real tequila and natural flavors. It's super light, crisp, refreshing, naturally gluten-free, less than 1.5 grams of sugar, and only 95 calories. Versatility at its finest. Get you a drink that belongs at the pool, at brunch, on the beach, anywhere in the summer. It comes in 6 delicious flavors: mango, pineapple, paloma, and lime. And the new flavors that are so delicious are spicy margarita and tequila sunrise. My current favorite, I'm going back to the lime. I love the lime. It is so refreshing. Just add some ice and it is absolutely delicious. So whatever your summer plans are, make sure Mamitas Tequila Seltzer is part of it. You can get them at drinkmamitas.com. We always link the store locators. Pick up a variety pack at Target, Walmart, Publix, Jewel Osco, or GoPuff.
Played all kinds of sports in high school. Went to college to play field hockey, D2 field hockey. Not to brag, I went to college to play D2 field hockey. So, so I was doing that, but then I became friends with all these rugby player girls who were like, "Oh, that's lame. Like we couldn't go out and drink like 48 hours before a game. We couldn't whatever." And they're like, "Kid, you're missing out on all the fun. Come play rugby." It was a club team with these just wild women who were just so much fun. And I was like, you know what? Sorry, everyone. I quit the team and I joined the rugby team instead. And it was just so much fun. But I got way too much into the partying then.
Oh, no.
And eventually, like, rugby parties and everything became my whole everything. And I moved into the rugby house my senior year, which was like straight out of Animal House. Like the home, I think like a year or two after I left, they ended up getting evicted because the quality of the home was so disgusting.
Oh, no.
Like we didn't have heat and we would just burn trash in a trash can like in the living room. Like our toilets didn't work. Like the guys would come in the middle of the night and upper deck our toilets or like piss in our washing machine or like they would like cover our floor in canola oil and we would just like live around all these things. Like it was the most disgusting. All we wanted to do was party. And I was basically a piece of human garbage rolling through life. And
Nice.
I started to like, after a while when the party starts to get old a little bit, the party started getting old. I was in my senior year with 1 semester left. I had a 1.8 GPA. Oh. And I have like the most wonderful parents and family and everything. And I was like lying to everybody, like everything's fine. But I was getting into like stupid level of partying that was like a little much. And I started to like hate myself. Like I was the only one on a Monday being like, who's coming out tonight? And everybody's like, you might have a problem, friend. It's like, I'm like, oh, really? So I started to really think like, I guess I could scrape by and like try and graduate, move back home to like some low level, like if I'm lucky, like cubicle job or something, I don't know. Or I could just like flip a coin and do something crazy that I never would have thought of before. And the Marine Corps kind of popped into my, I was like, what if I joined the military? Like the war was going pretty strong at that point. Business was great. I said, there's a good industry to get into. But I started kind of looking at the military, and I went home on Christmas break before my final semester senior year. I went to a recruiter and I was like, 1 ticket to Marine Corps, please. Like, sign me up. That's it. And that was it. I didn't go back to college. I went to boot camp instead. And yeah.
So wait,
that's how big of an
did you
asshole
pick
I was.
Marine out of Army, Marine, or?
I knew I needed a kick in the ass. And from what I knew from like our, like that commercial, you know, where they're slaying the dragon, and what I knew, I needed the biggest kick in the ass possible and that I deserved it. And the Marine Corps was what I knew was like the hardest one. And so that's what I went with. It was kind of, yeah.
It's cool you gave it to yourself. Like your parents didn't say you have to.
Oh no, they were like, "Are you serious?" They were, they were
like,
not.
"Don't do it."
Yeah,
it's okay. We'll pay for another semester.
Yeah. So they were not. At first, they were like not the happiest, and then when I came home from, you have to do all sorts of stuff to be able to sign up, like physicals and blah blah. And I remember coming home, and my dad had lined the driveway with little American flags, and they were like, "All right, if that's what you want to do, then we have your back." And
that's so sweet.
Deep inside, they're probably like, "You are an asshole, and this could help." So, all right, go ahead.
We'll support you.
Yeah, we'll support you.
You have really okay. We'll talk about your parents because it sounds like they're like the ultimate level of support.
Oh yeah, yep.
But wait, how was boot camp? Like, and did you love doing the Marines?
It was. So I didn't know anything about the military. Like this was kind of a shot in the dark. Like how can I redeem myself? Military. Like it was like.
So it was random. It was like very random.
I wish I could say that like I had this patriotic feeling to go like whatever, and like I did, but it was more definitely like I need to fix myself. So I like didn't really get yelled at much growing up. Like I wasn't around any sort of like whatever. So you get off the bus to boot camp and they just come swarming at you and they're screaming at you and they're like, and I was just like, oh my God, I've made a mistake. Like I cannot believe I've done this. And I'm like a happy-go-lucky, like I don't know. It was just like so serious. But after a while, like especially too for me, there's no partying, obviously. You're in bed by like 7 p.m. every night. You're up at 5 in the morning. You're doing physical activity. And I had like gotten from the partying and stuff so grossly out of shape. By the time I graduated, I was super fit. I was super healthy. I felt proud of myself for the first time that I could ever remember. And like when my parents came to watch me graduate and a couple of my family members, like I have never stood so tall in my life. I felt like I had really put in the work to like really, really make a change. And I've never been stupid partier like that ever since then. Well, I've been stupid partier, but not like to that level ever since then, you know? So it was like the best thing I could have ever done. Yeah.
And then then after you went through the boot camp, what did you do?
Yeah, then they send you off to a couple different schools, and my MOS school was military police. So I was like, oh, I'll just be like military bases have cops, just like a regular town does.
Oh, okay.
So they're also Marines or whatever, but they go through a school so I went through police school. I learned how to drive the cop car.
Oh,
I learned how to direct traffic. I learned how to like, do everything that a cop does. But there was a second part of that school and so my thinking was I'll be a cop on a base. And then when I get out, I'll be a cop in a town somewhere. And like, I love giving directions. I love rescuing kittens. I was like, this is for me.
It worked out.
Yeah, so easy. And there's a second part to that MOS, though, that's called Field MP, where you train the armies and police of other countries. And that was a big thing in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time, was training their police and their army, like basic patrol tactics, basic like whatever. But I thought, I was like, oh, I'll probably be a woman, whatever. I was the only woman in my MP class of there was like 78 of us, and I was the only woman.
No way.
Besides, there was my roommate who got kicked out. Her last name was Stoner. For me, and you won't believe it, for weed.
Wow.
Anyway, so I was thinking, oh, they'll probably have me stay stateside or whatever. But I got put in a field MP unit, and a couple years later, and then so I got to deploy a couple times. I got to like do whatever, and it ended up being this awesome experience. So
wow.
Yeah.
How long did you do it round trip?
Round like deployments?
Yes.
Or so the first one was I want to say 9 months.
Wow.
And the second one was about the same. So both the Army and stuff would do longer deployments, but we would do shorter ones. The first one was really cool though. I was in the Marine Corps' first ever all-woman unit, basically. And the point was because in Afghanistan, the culture is so strict with like, if our men like even so much as looked at their women wearing like full burqa or whatever, it could cause like huge problems. And we were trying to do like hearts and minds at the time and like win the people over and blah, 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 so that we could build up so that Taliban couldn't come in and rule the land. Instead, the people would resist and build their own government kind of thing was the idea. Didn't work well, okay. But so they needed women attached to these infantry units in these small villages to connect with the women. So I got to go do that. So it was just me and one other woman with this all-male infantry battalion in this village called Marja for those months. And we got to connect with the local women. And it was like the most incredible experience.
Oh, I bet it was.
Yeah.
I bet that was I was going to say incredible bag, but you just said that. I bet that was awesome.
Did you have a translator?
We had a translator. A lot of times there were so few women translators, though. A lot of times we would have a male translator on the other side of a wall from us, but it was a lot of charades. And I knew Pashto, like basic Pashto at the time. But you'd be amazed at like how far you can connect with somebody, just charades and a couple basic words and whatever. Wow. So it'd be really cool. All the male Marines would be up having like a shura meeting with the local males in the front of some compound. And me and my partner would be in the back with the women, like having tea. They'd put music on. They're putting makeup on me like a clown and like cracking up and like.
Are you kidding
So
me?
then I would have to patrol back through a dangerous area looking like Mimi from the Drew Carey show. I'm like, oh my God. This is so, like, if this is how I go out, then oh my God.
Then so be it.
Yeah. Then,
What a world.
Wow.
Wow.
It was just like as somebody, I didn't really like travel too much growing up. And so that was just like the most incredible experience. So
Oh, I bet.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so have you always been funny, like quick-witted and funny? Because the things you think of, I'm like, where did that come from? That's hysterical.
I come from a very funny family. They like Chaps always rips on me for I like almost brag about it like I had anything to do with it. But my dad is one of 13 kids.
Oh my gosh.
And then they each had like 5 kids. So I come from this huge family where like if you want to be heard in a room, you better be like kind of. And my dad was the middle child, so he was always like, hey, look at me. But like, so
Hello.
I grew up and two like anytime there was like a wedding, a retirement ceremony, or whatever. Everybody would come up with like funny poems and songs and like whatever, like Weird Al type stuff, you know? And so that kind of stuck with me. Like in college, I would start for my college dorm room floor, like an Onion type newspaper. I'm like, here's who was too drunk last night. It was like a news bulletin that I started putting out.
You
and
did
people thought
that?
was funny.
Okay, that's funny.
And then in the Marine Corps too, like when you're one of the only women, and the Marine Corps is only like 7% women, I think. And can be a pretty misogynistic, difficult place to get your foot in the door with a group. And I found humor was like, thank God I had a sense of humor, was like the best way to do that. So I'm like, if I can make them laugh, I can win them over, and then things will be a lot smoother from here. So
That's great.
Yeah, kind of honed it in a way.
Yeah.
So that was really good.
People,
Yeah.
I think people say that like the most disarming thing you can do if in that situation would be turn to humor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's smart. And
Yeah.
you're lucky though because you're just naturally funny.
Oh, thank you. That would be,
What will you? So what's the story like from? Okay, I can't believe I'm about to ask this. Do I say the Marine Corps?
yeah.
Is that what I say?
Yep.
Okay.
It's
From
a silent S. It's like the P in pterodactyl. It's like
silent. Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know there was a P in pterodactyl. Okay, what's the road from? Did you
say P in pterodactyl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know spell pterodactyl?
No.
Where's the P?
It's at the beginning.
Yeah, it's in
Yes.
the beginning.
PT?
Or like pneumonia. The
Yeah.
P in
Yeah.
pneumonia.
Oh yeah,
It's like the P in
that one I
pneumonia.
know
That's a
that.
better one.
I was
Yeah.
like, if I had spelled pterodactyl, I'm starting with a T, but I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
it's a P. Who knew? How did you get from the Marine Corps to Barstool? What's the road like?
So I got married when I was in the Marine Corps, and we all do it, honey. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Really?
When you're one of like one woman out of 100 guys, you can have the pick of the life. You are. I was an absolute smoke show when I was in. Okay, all you had to do was spray on a little love spell before you walked in, and everybody's like, "Whoa, who is she?" And I could look like a rat. It didn't matter.
Oh my gosh. That's
Anyway,
great.
so I super fell in love with this guy, and before our first deployments. And we dated all throughout. Like I think people get married so quick in the military because it's just so much more like we're going on deployment and like you're writing each other letters. Like we wrote each other letters every single day. And there was we didn't have cell phone or internet where we were. So like every few weeks you get this big stack of letters and you're just like, oh, we're so in love, blah, blah, blah. So we get back from that deployment, we get married, we deploy again. And he was from New York City. So afterwards, we moved back to New York, and I started I was like, I'm finally going to finish school now. I started going to Fordham on my GI Bill, so free college. You crazy not to go. And they had this program at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart called the Veteran Immersion Program, and it was his like final season. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was for people interested in media, and I was doing communications at Fordham, veterans interested in media. And so I got accepted into that program. And so for a whole semester, like once a week, I got to go over to the Daily Show studios. And like the first day, right for the crack of dawn, you're sitting in the writer's room and you watch their whole process from morning, because they would start writing the show that day and shoot it that night. Like everyone. So you got to watch the whole process. And sitting in the room with these comedians, like I had never thought comedy and that kind of stuff like could be a real career path. It was like, oh, this is something fun I'll always do on the side. But sitting there with them, I was like, oh my God, they're actually doing this. I want to do something like this more than anything in my life. So they were amazing. They sort of, a bunch of the comedians and the writers and blah, blah, blah. They're like, well, we do stand-up every night after we're done this show. We do improv teams. We do whatever. So I started doing comedy in New York City. I started doing stand-up, and I joined an improv. It was an all-veterans improv team and sketch comedy team. And like I started doing like everything that I could to get into the comedy world. And at the end of the Daily Show thing, there was a job fair with all these different TV companies. One of the spots I interviewed, it was right in the studio, was at Jon Stewart's desk. It was like, I think I interviewed with A&E sitting right there for a job that I did not get. The Meredith Vieira show I interviewed for, like all these different shows. But Comedy Central was the one I really wanted, and I got it. And I was just like the bottom of the totem pole at Comedy Central, like getting comedians to sign off on stuff and bringing coffee and whatever. But I sat next to the talent department who would they're like, do you want to come tonight? We're going to like scout out some comedians or whatever. And so it was just like, and at lunch, you could like take the keys and go open and read any script from any Comedy Central show ever. You know, it was just like this great education in all things comedy. And it just further cemented like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. The problem is I sucked at my job so hard. I was supposed to be doing like executive assistant type work for the president of production at Comedy Central.
Oh my
this
gosh.
incredible woman named Megan Ring, who was just so impressive. I am so flighty. Like you should see my emails, and like I would be like, excuse me, Megan, your big meeting started about 15 minutes ago. Excuse me, Megan, I forgot to do your travel expense report for last month, so now I need you to sign off on this thing. Excuse me, Megan, like I sucked at that job so hard. I worked there for almost 2 years. At the same time, my marriage was starting to fall apart. And it was like all consuming to me, because like I come from a big Irish Catholic family. Like, nobody gets divorced, like everybody, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't fix it. I couldn't save it. And I became like so consumed with fixing it that I was like, well, maybe if I quit this job and I get an easier job, and then I can focus more, because I was doing like stand up at night. So I would work all day and then I'd do the rounds in the city. And like, maybe it's because I'm doing all that this isn't working out, blah, 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 whatever. And so I kind of like it was like the most realist heartbreak. Like the whole marriage fell apart, and I completely fell apart. I quit my job because I felt like I wasn't doing it justice. Like I was sucking at my job so bad. I was like, I can't do this. I tried to get a job at a ramp company selling like ramps to attach to people's homes. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like just that was close to home, that was like easier hours, like whatever. And finally, everything like really fell apart. It turns out he had been seeing some older minors, and I was like, yeah. And I was just so heartbroken and shocked that I was like, we had been together for like 7 years.
Oh, wow.
At that point. And so I just packed up my car one night and I drove back down to my parents, who they hadn't told me they were in the process of putting their house up for sale. So they were like, by the way, so I ended up in my Aunt Peggy's basement in Delco.
Oh my God.
And with like no job, no food, our pets' heads were falling off. But yeah, so in like the blink of an eye, my whole world flipped upside down. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? If I'm rambling too much.
I'm so interested.
So I didn't know what to do. My uncle got me, first I was a UPS driver helper at Christmas, making like $12 an hour, like helping the delivery guys, like run packages. Then my uncle helped get me a job at where the 76ers play and the Flyers play, doing concessions, at the Philly Convention Center. So like working the flower show and the car show and like whatever, selling hot dogs and stuff, and just keeping myself busy. Then I decided that I was going to become a dental hygienist. I just looked up like jobs that are good money. And I was like, I'll go back to school with the rest of my GI Bill. I'll become a dental hygienist. So I was going to community college and like working concessions. And I had just like completely given up on everything. So I had a couple of friends who were like, come on, like nothing was funny to me anymore. And they're like, come on, start doing like some stand-up again. There's some open mics or whatever. Come on out. And I started kind of writing, like, I would sit there with a notepad that was like, what is funny about my divorce? and then it was like, everything's terrible. But slowly but surely, I started finding things that were very funny about it. And I started to be able to go up and talk about it, and things started flipping around. And that's when I started, like, getting more active on my Twitter and, like, started getting a veteran community following of just, like, funny military stuff. And one day I was at lunch, and I got this calzone. I was on break from college. And I got a calzone that looked like a vagina. It was a small calzone, had a little hole and one pepperoni on top. I said, this is absurd. So I tweeted it, and Chaps here at Barstool had been doing this long time column of foods and nature things that looked like buttholes and genitals and things. So because of the veteran like following I had amassed on Twitter, a bunch of veterans who also followed Chaps because he's a Marine started tagging him like, yo, Chaps, here's one for the blog. Here's a calzone for the blog. So he DMs me. He's like, hey, do you mind if I use your calzone, milady, for this blog? And I'm like, of course, of course. And he's like, I couldn't help but notice your thing says Marine Corps. I do a podcast called 0 Block 30. Do you want to come on the show? So I think I was like episode 56 or something, talking about the female engagement team. And after the show, like we talked for a little bit, and he could tell I was kind of down and out on things. And he's like, well, do you want to do social media for us? We need a social media person. And he paid me out of his own pocket for like a year. Yeah. And then finally convinced Dave to interview me. And I knew of Barstool. Like I knew my guy friends followed it, but I didn't really follow it. Mm-hmm. I came up here for the interview I went to Kohl's and bought like a business casual suit with like, I came rolling in like Payless flats and like a Kohl's business for her suit. And I walked into the old office and I was like, oh my God, I've made a terrible mistake. But long story short, Dave was like, I don't know much about you. I didn't have like really any entertainment creds or anything. He was like, but if Chap says you're good, like you're in. And then I had a full-time job at Barstool. And next thing you know, they got Sirius XM came. Chaps was like, you'd have to move to New York City in like 2 weeks, but do you want to do radio and like move to New York? And I was like, done. I like packed up my stuff and been here ever since.
Well, yay.
Like 4
Okay,
years.
when was that?
So that was such a long story.
That was incredible.
That was an incredible story.
I'm really happy to hear that.
What year was that?
Mama needed health insurance. Let's tell you what. Things were getting dicey for the old gal. No, that was in like, oh God, what was 4 years ago? 2018?
Okay.
I think it was like 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy how stuff works.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a story.
Yeah.
A calzone.
It was a calzone
on Twitter.
That's pretty much it. Like I tell people like it was super lucky, but especially like a lot of veterans getting out are like, oh, what can I do to, and I say like, if I hadn't been doing all the comedy and all the stuff that I loved on the side, even throughout everything, like I wouldn't have been set up to be successful here, kind of. So like, even if you're not doing what you love, find your hobbies and find the stuff you love and like put your heart and soul into it on the side. And who knows, like slowly, I feel like a lot of people who do that get to morph into the thing they love full time kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's great advice.
It was just really,
that is good advice.
really
That's
lucky.
true.
Yeah.
So you always have your humor. And like I feel like that's always been a pillar of Kate.
Yeah.
And now you have cash.
Yes.
And the humor is applied to being a mother. Can
Yes.
you talk about that a little bit? Do you love being a mom? Do you find it
love
funny?
It. I love it. I see and I get like it's funny because there's so much duality to it. And I think like when we talk about the bad stuff, people are so quick to be like, oh, stop it. At least you have a beautiful kid, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're allowed to have both sides to it. Yeah. It can be like incredibly painful and the most amazing thing at the same time. It's awesome. I ripped my taint, okay? And so I can talk about that. That's hard. But also he's like just, I love it. Every day, like I didn't know much about kids really. Like I'm from a big family, but like I was off in the Marines and college and blah, blah, blah. And like you're kind of, you know that age where you're kind of in a bubble where you're not near kids very often, sort of. So I was in that bubble for a long time. And so every day it's like, look at this thing he's doing. Did you know they do that? I should probably Google that. I didn't know, like, oh my God, I guess we're supposed to switch him to food now. I didn't know, oh my God. But like, there's like stupid things. But like every day I'm like learning something new and watching him do something new. And I'm just like, I sound so dorky, but I'm blown away every single day by him. Like I don't know.
Aww.
Like picking him up from daycare, I always say feels like Christmas morning. Like I like run up the hill. I'm like, all right. Like I can't. Yeah, it's just, I love it. Yeah.
How old is he now?
He's 14 months, about to be. Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Wow.
I saw he was into opening doors.
He's super into the sliding door right now, just all day long, opening and shutting it and walking in and out of it and whatever.
That's big.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Did your mom, okay, so is your way of mothering like your mom taught you a lot or you're like Googling as you go, like you said? Is that for real?
big time Googling. My mom, though, has been a huge help. Like when I first had him, she came up for a few weeks and was like, here's how you hold a baby, Kate. Now that you're a mom, like, here's what you do.
Aww.
And just telling me that, like, when they're crying, like, it's okay. They're going to do that sometimes. And like, just whatever. But no, she's been super awesome, but it's been so much Googling. And there's like 20 different apps now that track every which thing. And
oh, really?
Oh yeah. Did you know there's phases they go through? They're entering like this one app is like, watch out, they're entering a red week. They're going to be extra cranky this week. And it's like, how do you know? But
is it true?
It's true, yeah.
I think so.
I mean, all I had was like, I had the books I read would be equilibrium and disequilibrium was what they would call it. So yeah, you guys both fell on it. And luckily one was always here while the other one was here.
Yeah.
I didn't have both of you at the same time doing this, which worked out perfect.
In the anger phase or like the cranky phase? Is that what you mean?
Cranky or, mouthy or whatever it is.
Yeah, they go
just
through leaps. Yeah, you go through like brain leaps when you're growing. And so all of a sudden you have this new skill or new thing and it kind of throws you off. So you're you're swiping the coffee table off with all your puffs, like a surly man at the bar, and you're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Sheesh.
Oh, the puffs.
But yeah, so many puffs.
What's it like working and being a mom? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, at first, so I'm so like Barstool is the place to be for like nobody made me come back when maternity leave was done. Nobody was like, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, because I got my maternity leave ended. I was like, I'm just gonna quietly work from home with him for a while because I didn't want to send him to daycare yet. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll work from home with the baby. I quickly learned.
And there's no working at home with the baby.
It is impossible. It is like completely impossible to do. So after like a month, I was like, all right, I'll start dipping my toe. But even then, I just started sending him like a few days a week and would work from home. And nobody here ever said anything. Like I was breastfeeding and I was still pumping and all that stuff. And they set up like I have my own room with a key with the fridge and like great ambiance, a mirror. Enrique decorated it. It's a delight. So
you should just use that.
I should just. And so whenever he's been sick, because they get daycare illnesses, like whatever, like, and I know I'm lucky because a lot of the messages, I get so many messages from moms now who are like, you're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. It's like my place does, I have to pump in the bathroom. I have to like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's a lawsuit, honey. I think look into it. But yeah, it's like not great. But this has been the best place to be. But yeah, sending him to daycare, I think he was like, I want to say he was almost 6 months. I got to be home with him. But at first you're like, oh my God. But even now the daycare has an app. Like minute by minute, they tell you exactly what he's doing.
Oh, you're kidding.
He just peed. Now he's singing a song about a dog.
What?
Now he's like, oh, it's crazy.
Wow.
I know this isn't great for podcasting, but you shouldn't have asked. It's my Rolodex. They tell you all day. They send you pictures.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
He's wearing his little Barstool shirt today. He's wearing his little.
They just update it, so somebody just sits there and updates it like it's like a text message.
All day long. You can see exactly what his arts and crafts or sleeping or diaper or whatever. And so it makes me feel better to be
and
like,
connected because you really know what they're doing during the day instead of what they do today. Oh, they did this and that. That's
yeah.
so cool.
And they tell you. So it makes me feel so much better. So like it's definitely.
Wow.
That's nice.
I know. I'm very lucky, but I found a good spot and yeah.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been too hard.
I think that would make it so much easier.
Yes.
You feel like you know exactly what's going on.
Oh, I like check it more often than my Twitter. I'm like, they haven't sent a picture in 10 minutes. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever.
Doing.
But
I knew they had that for dogs, but I did not know they had that for kids.
It's potato. They have it for everybody. But I almost like, people like, oh, is it super hard? It definitely was hard when he first had to get used to it. But now he like kicks his feet. He's so excited as we're getting close to go up the hill. He reaches out to the daycare ladies. Like, we're lucky with our spot.
Yeah.
But also like when I'm busy working, like it's nice. Like it's nice to get away and have my cup of coffee and be able to work and like whatever. So I actually really enjoy working.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would
especially
be.
here.
Right, I was going to say, if you're going to work somewhere here.
And you mentioned early your boyfriend works from home
Yes.
at night when you're there. So how do you guys find time for each other? Is that really hard when you have?
Oh man, it's so hard,
Yeah.
especially because I'm not ready for like babysitters and stuff yet. Like I don't know anybody up here really, and so I'm not whatever. So it's a lot of times he goes to bed and I'm like, let's flip on the patio lights and get some whistle pig out there. So I'm like, whatever, no free ads. CBT, promo code CBT.
Second free ad. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. The second one, put your cocoons on, settle in out there. But yeah, no, it's just mostly like at home dates right now. It definitely is hard to get out. My parents will come up or we'll go down there and like get to go out for a little bit. But it is hard.
Yeah.
It is really hard.
If you need a babysitter.
Yeah. And
No, not
Alex,
no,
you-
you.
I would love to.
I don't know what to
Alex,
do.
I was wondering what you're doing this weekend.
So anyways,
Yeah.
Memorial Weekend, do you have plans?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I would love to babysit.
You would like you would love it. We always do a Kim tip. And so today I told her to make her tip for you.
Yeah,
like, as a mom.
And the only tip that I have that I could think of, and so this probably when he gets a little bit older, is, and because this happened a lot when where we went to school. I don't know about how they do it here, but we volunteered for everything. So we were on like PTO and the homeroom mom and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But you could get so busy doing that you actually miss out on all the time with your own kid. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't overextend yourself volunteering, and it's so easy to do because you want to say yes and you want to help out and you want to make everything better for the whole class and everything, but it takes away from your kid.
That's a great.
I had
that is
somebody
great
tell me
advice.
that when my kids were little. They're like, "Don't volunteer, just say no.
Don't over volunteer.
Don't
Yeah,
over-volunteer.
some.
Don't over
yeah.
volunteer." But I mean, some is even hard sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's just times when you really need to be with your kids, and that's the joy of it.
Oh,
not
yeah.
their whole life and everyone else in the classroom.
That's great advice. That is really good because you're right. That is probably coming up on the horizon soon and all that stuff. So,
do you have a tip for
ooh,
moms with little ones?
oh
Or
man,
Alex for when she has kids.
yeah, for whenever that.
The tip I take from you is keep the humor in it. I love how I love all the with everything you've ever done. It seems like
Keep a sense of. I would say there's so many like, I don't want to say like momfluencers, but there's a bunch of like really popular pages about like, if you're not putting your kid to sleep this way, if you're not feeding them this way, if you're whatever. And I think like I got swept up in it at first and was really hard on myself. I was like, oh man, I'm not following what I'm supposed to be doing. When really it's like, I have found that letting go of that stuff and just trusting my instinct, every baby is so different.
Yeah.
So I guess my advice would be don't be hard on yourself. Just do what feels right for you. And I promise you that's the right thing. Like,
I like
you
that.
know, like you can read tips and tricks and try things out, but like at the end of the day, just trust yourself because nobody knows your baby like you do.
I was going to ask you this because I wasn't sure if it was even relative to what you do with your comedy, but Alex kind of looked at me like I was weird. But like, are you a thinking person? Because from what you just said there, and I don't mean that weird, like a thinking person or a research person. So someone who researches all the time, it doesn't really think about how it applies to themselves. They're just researching and then they apply it and like not do what you said, like weigh it and go, well, that didn't work for me, but I can maybe take that and make it work for me where it's what's natural. Do you kind of do that? Excuse me, with everything?
At first I was just blindly doing the research thing and trying it. And then it took me to be like, I'm not enjoying this. We are not enjoying this. Like I like trying to keep him on such a strict schedule that he would be like, not like, because it works for some people and that's awesome. But I was like, man, he's like napping at the time he's supposed to, but I'm miserable. Like we're not doing like going out and doing stuff because I'm so obsessed with his schedule. Like, oh, this sucks. And so, yeah, I definitely think that has taught me to be more that way, to like do my research, but also like kind of look at it with a more quizzical eye instead of just kind of blindly following stuff.
But do you do that with comedy too?
What do you mean? Sorry,
Well, because everything you do is so funny. Like the other day when you had that on, you were like, if your dad's in jail, and it's like, how does she think about that stuff? Like, does it just come naturally to you, or do you really sort of think about scenarios in life and go, that's funny? Do you really have to think through it, or does it just come to you naturally?
For the most part, I guess kind of naturally. When it comes to ripping on Brandon Walker, it's like breathing. It's so easy. It just comes right out. But for the most part, when I'm doing blogs, that's where I like put effort in to like come up with jokes and stuff like that. So that I definitely think more of. But when it's like quick little one-liners and stuff like that, one of the favorite ways I like, now that I'm not doing like comedy stuff in the city and blah, 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 that I try and keep myself fresh sometimes is I'll watch a sports game and I'll try and come up with quick little one-liners as I'm watching it that I zip off about, like just puns about their last name. I don't know shit about sports, just puns about their names or something that just happened or whatever. And like just seeing if I can just still be quick and come up with stupid jokes. And then usually they bomb, but that doesn't matter. I'm still working the old brain and whatever. But yeah, so most part, I just try and wing it. If that's what you were.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Oh
thank
my
you,
gosh.
Kate.
No, thank you. I was rambling away.
No, I
We-
loved
that
it.
was- It was awesome.
It was
Well,
awesome.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed hearing your story,
Yeah, and a lot of people could probably benefit from that.
especially your tip. That was a good tip.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young moms are really hard on themselves.
But no, anyone going through life changes like that.
Keep the humor.
Keep the
Keep
humor.
the
and-
humor. Yeah.
Yeah, from driving the UPS truck,
Drive it. Oh,
working the
man.
concessions to here.
Yeah.
Well, having this great
'Cause of the
job and then
calzone.
giving it all in your marriage, that whole thing was just a big road.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It all like wouldn't change any. It sounds dorky, but I'm like in hindsight, wouldn't change it for a thing.
No,
for the
but
way
you
you
could have
end up.
turned into a very bitter person and gone down a whole different road.
Oh, I'm still bitter. Don't even. No, I just.
Oh, I am.
No.
I wouldn't believe that for a
A
second.
few glasses of red wine and a cigarette, and you won't even know. No, I'm just kidding. No, very lucky for
Well,
sure.
thank you so much
Yes,
for being on.
thank
We
you.
Yeah,
enjoyed
thank you
it.
guys. I love it. Thanks.
And with that, that's Kate. We love you. Moms, we love you. Always keep your sense of humor. I hope everybody has a fabulous week, and we will see you next week. And do not forget, like, comment, subscribe, and leave a review because we want Kim to do her stand-up comedy set. So go review the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Oh, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok.